Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to work on both of our cooking projects for this week. First thing we're going to cook this week is our apple fritter bread. And this bread is something I've made for a long time. It comes from the Amish culture in Indiana. Apples are really relevant this time of the year. They're coming off the trees everywhere in the United States. And I figured it'd be fun to go ahead and try and make the bread. And then later on this week, we're going to reserve our peels from the bread and we're going to make actual apple cider. So when you open your box this week, you're going to see a container like this. It's got your butter, your milk, and your eggs in it. And then you're also going to have your container of your dry goods in it. On top of that, you've got 4 apples and an orange. 2 of the apples are going to be for your bread. 2 of the apples and your orange are going to be for your apple cider. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna go ahead and wash our apples. We're gonna peel them, and then we will get everything rolling. I'll be back with you in just a second. All right, y'all. Got our apples washed, and what I have here is just a little container with some water in it, and that water is gonna help your apples from turning brown. While we're working on this entire process, let's go ahead and preheat our oven to 350 degrees. So that way it's starting to get warm as we're working along. A couple different ways you can peel apples. Old school peeler like this, you can just kind of take your apple, peel it down. Or you can just, most of you probably have a peeler like this at your house. And remember to save your apple peels, okay? We're gonna use those apple peels in our apple cider this week. So you can put them back into one of your little pint containers after you have them rinsed out and just soak them in water. And if you have any vinegar at all in your house, the vinegar will help keep them from browning over the next couple of days while we go to cook our next project. Okay? Try and get a majority of your skins off of there. Go ahead and put that guy right into your water. So that way it helps it not to brown while you're working on your other apple. Okay. Just like that. All right. Cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my eggs and separate them from our butter and our milk. And I'm going to microwave this for about 20 seconds to help kind of bring it to room temperature and soften the butter a little bit. I'll be right back. All right, we got our softened butter. We softened it just enough to be able to make it workable. So now we're going to dice our apples that we've peeled. Got your apple? Go ahead and just cut them into pieces. Leave the center core, just like that, and just cut all the sides of it off. And it doesn't have to be perfect dice. Just enough that they're small enough little bite-sized pieces that when you put it into your bread, you get a bunch of little different sized pieces of apple in there. Makes it very apple fritter-esque. So we'll get through all the apples and then we'll start mixing our ingredients. Do the second one. Now when we're cooking this bread, you know, traditionally this bread is cooked into a pan like this. It's just your normal bread pan, but you can use any pan that you have available. A little Pyrex pie plate will work, even a rectangle pan like this. It may not be the same size as what I have going on here. It'll be a different shape as well, but it will work. You might have to adjust your cooking time depending on your depth of your pan, but I think it'll work out just fine no matter what pan you use. All right. So there's our apples, got all that done. Now we're gonna get a mixing bowl. Any bowl will work, doesn't really matter. Go ahead and take your dry ingredients. Put your dry ingredients in there. Get your vanilla out of there. And remember what I said, go ahead and put some water in here, and you can put your apple peels and your cores in there, and we'll use that for our apple cider later on this week, okay? Go ahead and crack your eggs in here. Okay, and then we're gonna pour our milk and our butter in there as well. We'll give this a good mix. Wooden spoon, spatula, whatever you so choose to use. Any of that will work. Get everything nice and incorporated in there. You're gonna break up your egg yolks so it really starts to work into all your flour. You don't want any chunks. It'll be a nice smooth texture once you're all done. If your butter didn't melt all the way when you were microwaving it, it's okay. Those little clumps of butter are gonna create butter pockets inside of your actual pan and your bread. It'll be awesome. So the next thing I wanna do, take your pan, and if you have it, spray it a little bit. It'll help it from sticking. If you don't, you can use any kind of oil, canola oil, olive oil, whatever the case is. It's just to help keep it from sticking. So what we'll do, take about 1/3 of our batter here, put that down into our pan, move it around so it's nice and spread out, and then we'll take about 1/3 of our apples and sprinkle them right on top. Okay, and you'll do that step again. So it's gonna look like you've got layers of dough and apple. You may not have full coverage everywhere, but as it bakes, your baking soda that's in your dry ingredients package will actually make it bubble up and be really, really delicious in there. All right, your last third goes into there. And then your last little bit of apples on top of that. Cool. So what I like to do once you have everything in there, kind of tap it down a little bit, okay? That helps get your air bubbles out of there, and it'll really make it a nice, dense, you know, come together bread instead of having different separate layers. All right? So now what we're gonna do is bake this off in the oven for 1 hour. And we'll be back once it's all done.